Guys, I'm really happy to welcome to the podcast actor, producer, Kirk Cameron. Some of you will remember him as Mike Seaver from the 1980s hit sitcom Growing Pains. But since then, he's been a kind of entrepreneur in faith and family-focused films, TV shows, live events. He made, of course, the film called Fireproof that many of us saw, Monumental, Connect, The Way of the Master, a TV series, and also a whole bunch of stuff focused on marriage and family and parenting. He evidently has a new feature coming out with the Kendrick brothers called Lifemark, coming out in September. But we're going to talk now about his new documentary. It's called The Homeschool Awakening. It's in theaters today, June 13th, and also tomorrow, June 14th. Kirk, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining me. Man, you are a productive guy, and the new film looks great. Tell us a little bit about it. Well, why did you choose this topic, and what can people expect to see in the film?
Thanks, Dinesh. It's so good to be with you, and I'm excited. You know, this is really exciting because there's an awakening that's taking place across the nation. And it was really sparked by the pandemic and the response of locking public schools down, sending children home. Parents got a front row seat as they watched their kids on their laptops be taught things that just horrified them. I mean, this is just crazy stuff that they're teaching. And while they're removing a lot of good things from school, teaching kids to love God, love their neighbor, be proud to live in America, they're replacing it with critical race theory. They're replacing that with genderqueer theory, encouraging their kids to choose their own pronouns, decide if they want to be a boy or a girl. And parents said, we're not going to do this anymore. So they kept their kids home, even after the schools opened back up, and homeschooling doubled in 2020. And homeschooling is actually this amazing, wonderful community of families who are passing on their values and giving their kids a great education in the context of a community that is on mission to bring faith, family, and freedom back into learning.
Give me some idea of the size of this. You say that homeschool doubled. The other thing I think is interesting is that it seems that there is a fairly broad-based group of parents. In other words, not just kind of hardcore evangelicals who are doing this, but lots of parents now who realize, listen, you know, I'm investing in the public schools, but I'm really not getting any return on that investment, and I need to look elsewhere. The schools have basically failed us, haven't they?
Well, a lot of parents sure think so. What an incredible trust that you're giving to a teacher when you drop your kids off at a school somewhere. And that trust has been broken in the eyes of many, many parents. And we're seeing that all over the internet with parents showing up at school boards and then being schooled by some of the teachers and the unions who are telling them, you guys aren't qualified to make these decisions about what your kids can and can't learn. We actually document some of those stories in the movie. So I'm excited for parents to see that. But you asked about the size. I've heard numbers as high as 8 million children being homeschooled. And let's see. I don't remember the rest of your question. Can you remind me there?
Well, I mean, I was just asking about whether or not it's a pretty broad-based movement. It's not simply religious parents, but it's a lot of parents who just care about education and also care about morals and values and believe that their beliefs and their values are being subverted in the schools.
100%. That's right. You have a huge, diverse community of people for all different reasons, including the ones that you just said, but also some parents have special needs children. Some parents really want to lean into the giftings that their children have, and the public school system just isn't able to deal with that. Some families are traveling. Some families have unique schedules, and they're realizing that, wait a minute, we don't have to be stuck in this one-size-fits-all machine. We can actually really provide something much better for our children. And This is so exciting for me because I'm even seeing articles show up now where teachers within the public school system are leaving the system because they feel that they cannot properly reach the children with all of these restrictions that are being placed on them and the stuff they're being forced to teach the kids. And so they're finding fertile ground in alternative school models like homeschooling and private school. And corporations are now investing into these alternative schooling models, which is so great. And I'm proud of these parents. It's a parent-led movement. And we're going to answer all of the questions for you if you're even mildly interested in homeschooling and you want to explore what those options might mean for your family. The ins and outs, the how-tos. What about socialization? What about academic rigor? What about time constraints? How can I homeschool if we're working parents? All those things will be dealt with and discussed in the movie, and your heart will be touched, and you'll see just how much these families love each other and how successfully they're doing homeschooling.
I want to give you a couple of websites, thehomeschoolawakening.com, thehomeschoolawakening.com, or just go to Kirk's website, kirkcameron.com. Kirk, so would I be right in saying that this is a film that tells the story of how parents became, in a sense, disillusioned with the public schools, decided to try another way, and you're going to help people who watch this movie not only see what these homeschools look like, but maybe how they're organized, how they come together, how they meet the educational and emotional and moral needs of students, and perhaps inspire some parents to consider that for their own kids.
Yes, that's exactly right. It's a dive into the everyday adventures of American homeschool families, and it's in full color, scored with music, and you're going to hear straight from the parents and from the kids how they got into homeschooling and what it looks like. You know, some people have, like I did, these stereotypes in the back of their mind. They think, oh, wait a minute, homeschooling? I mean, these are sort of these reclusive, weird families. Like, do you have to be a Quaker? Are you stuck on a farm somewhere churning your own butter with no electricity? That's not the case. These are families in cities, on farms, and suburban areas, and you're gonna see the success stories. We're gonna talk to colleges who talk about how much they love homeschooling students, because often they're healthy, they're well-rounded, they're initiative takers, they think outside the box, they've been exposed not only to children their own age as they're going through, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, but they're actually teaching the younger kids, and children are involved with their parents and their grandparents and other families and online classes, and they're out in the real world experiencing all of it in this school life balance that really makes for healthy students that tend to do really, really well.
I mean, there might be the ordinary parent who doesn't know much about this might think, well, look, I'm a professional, but I'm a professional in one particular area. Obviously, a school is going to have to educate kids in history and a little bit of biology and a little bit of math and a little bit of all this different stuff. And I think a typical parent may think, well, I don't know all that stuff, but you don't need to know, right? Isn't there a kind of a homeschool network that puts all this together so that when you do homeschooling, it's not just you sitting home teaching all the subjects to your kids, but rather you're participating in a homeschool community?
That's exactly right. Well, you nailed it. You're not in this little silo. You're not sequestered inside of your house, having to become an expert in all these topics. You can teach the things that you're passionate and you love and enjoy teaching to your kids. You can learn it together as a family, and those other subjects like physics or advanced mathematics or whatever it is. There is likely people within your homeschool network, within this vast community, that would love to make themselves available to help you in those subjects with your kids, and they're very qualified. And just be ready for them to then ask you if you could help them with their kids or friends of theirs who have some kids who really want to know what you're an expert in and passionate about. And so it really is a community of people teaching your kids together as families. And don't forget about online courses with online schools, colleges, universities, dual credits. Dinesh, you're such a huge proponent of quality education. And we learn so much from you through your documentaries and the things that you teach, that all of these things are on the table. And you as the parent are in the driver's seat. That's the beauty. You're not alone, but you are in charge. And so you decide curriculum, you decide schedule, you decide processes. And that's really, I think, the way that it's meant to be. Children belong to parents, not to the state government.
I mean, Kirk, you're a longtime actor going back to the 1980s, and so obviously you have expertise in the business of films. But nevertheless, you've taken it to a whole new level because you've become a sort of film entrepreneur, and you release these films periodically. Talk a little bit about that transition from the world of acting on the one hand to now being almost a kind of, a certain type of a crusader of a 21st century type, in which you are bringing information to people, and you're doing it as part of a cause.
Well, Dinesh, you know lots about this topic too. I like watching movies, and I do enjoy acting, but nothing brings me as much satisfaction and joy than being a part of projects that are really making a difference, particularly for our kids. And I'm so grateful to live in this country. I don't want to see it crumble. I don't want to see kids be put through a moral and worldview and spiritual meat grinder, coming out some sort of homogenized, pasteurized Marxist sausage. So let's create some things that are going to help families thrive. And I'm grateful doors have continued to open for me to be able to make projects like the Homeschool Awakening and other projects. And you know, the movies that you make, when they do so well at the box office, it opens the door and paves the way for more guys like us to make more movies, because the theaters know that they can make money off of them. People will come to see them, and the market continues to expand. So I'll keep doing this for just as long as I can, and it's making a difference.
Well, Kirk, you do really good work, and folks, I want you to check this film out. It's The Homeschool Awakening, in theaters today, June 13th, tomorrow, the 14th. Go to thehomeschoolawakening.com or go to kirkcameron.com and check it out.